nice night before Rosh Hashanah. Everyone's usually busy with a lot of stuff, so it's really nice that everyone came. I want to thank my wife for making this happen, because without my wife, this definitely would not happen. It takes a lot, to clean up, to set up, to everything. So I really a big thank you to my wife. A big thank you to Shaul. He just walked out, but Shaul goes out, he picks out the food, he makes the deals with the restaurants, and he makes everything happen. So if not for Shaul, also the share wouldn't happen. So for those who weren't here in the share before, I'm just going to go over exactly what the point of the share is. For those who were already here, I'm sorry you have to hear it again, because I know you heard it a couple times already. But the point of the share is to talk about the beauty in Yiddishkeit. Yiddishkeit is so beautiful, and there's so much beauty in it. And when you talk about the beauty, that's what motivates you, right? We all get motivated by what we're excited about. So if we talk about the beauty of Yiddishkeit and we focus in on the beauty, it can help us get excited about Yiddishkeit and the mitzvahs, right? And we also talk about the meaning behind the mitzvahs. We all did mitzvahs our whole life, and of course, everyone, reward and punishment. I don't know what God, rewards, punishment. For everyone who does every mitzvah, the reward is unbelievable. But how do you connect to God through a mitzvah that you don't understand in this world, right? So you do a mitzvah. Let's say, for example, I'll give the same example because it's an easy example of Shabbos. You look at Shabbos as a day of rest. Okay, fine. So Shabbos is a day of rest. So let's say for you, you'd rather relax by a beach. So you tell yourself, no, I'll keep Shabbos because I know it's the right thing. But personally, I don't see the point of having to have a day just for relaxation, especially when the whole week this week I was on vacation. So I don't need a day for relaxation, but you'll do it. So the question is, but how are you connecting to God through Shabbos if you're looking at it as a day of relaxation? Where does God get in there? So when we understand the mitzvahs, right? You could do mitzvahs, but if we don't understand them, how are we connecting to God through them? And if we don't see the beauty in them, a lot of times then we'll do it at a rote, but we're not going to be excited about it, The point of Yiddishkeit is to get closer to Hashem, and when we understand the mitzvahs and we see the beauty, it will motivate us that we'll get closer to Hashem. And the point of the share is that we take one concept every Wednesday night, and we talk about what's the beauty and the meaning in that one concept or that one mitzvah. And over time, we're going to understand a lot of the mitzvahs, what's the meaning and what's the beauty behind it, and we'll hopefully use that to get closer to God and make it a more exciting and a happy experience and a more meaningful experience. And that's the goal of the share. Tonight, it's our zechus. I know Rabbi Bergmann is a very, very busy man. I know tonight was a hard night, and he nevertheless came out because he knows how important it is, right, for what we're doing. Rabbi Bergmann, I went to a lot of the share happens to be from Rabbi Bergmann. A lot of the concepts of the share, I went to him about a lot of everything. Every time I have a question, every step I take, I go to him for advice. So a lot of this whole thing, the amount of time that I put into to talk to me about it, and the shiur and everything is unbelievable, and we owe a huge yashar koach. Also, it happens to be that Ari is the smartest person I've ever met in my life, and he's a huge Talmud Chacham, and he understands stuff that could just open our eyes. And you just share shara, and whoever goes to share just blows your mind every time you go. It's just so amazing. And I thought there'd be no one else better to talk about Rosh Hashanah. We all had a certain mindset about Rosh Hashanah our whole life, and Ari's going to open our eyes to have even a more better experience this year. So we start with the video. You want to just let also?
Take it.
We all know how intimidating the high holidays can be. Rosh Hashanah, the first day of the Jewish New Year, is a day of judgment. It's a day when God Himself comes down into the world and spends it with us. Like any important day, we need time to properly prepare. The month before Rosh Hashanah is called Elul, and is considered a time to prepare for the high holidays. However, if you look closely at Elul, you find something very strange. The rabbis teach us that Elul is an acronym for Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. I am for my beloved, and my beloved is for me. Really? I figured Elul would stand for, you better get your act together before God zaps you on Rosh Hashanah. I mean, I am for my beloved sounds like a line out of a romantic novel. This isn't the time for love. This is the time for fear. Judgment Day is coming. Why are the rabbis prepping us with love? Let me tell you a story. I have a friend who is an executive at an investment bank. His job is to travel around the world helping companies raise money. He's rarely in the same country all week. One day I bumped into him and he looked a little off. "Are you okay?" "I had a rough night." "What happened?" "Charlie, you're lucky. Your kids are still little. Wait until they get older." "What happened?" So he told me. He said, "You know me, Charlie. I'm always traveling. I was supposed to be in China this week, but my trip got canceled and I was able to catch an earlier flight home. I came home and my teenage son was still up. I popped my head into his room to say hi. He barely acknowledged my presence while texting, talking on his cell, and video chatting at the same time. Well, for some reason I couldn't sleep that night, so in the middle of the night I went downstairs to get a drink. On the way down, I overheard my son talking on the phone. He said, "Man, I hate it when my dad comes home. I mean, when he's away, I can do anything I want. But when he comes back, I have to watch my curfew, the smell of my breath, my hiding spots. I just wish he would get back on the road." He said, "Charlie, when I heard that, I almost fainted. I mean, I spent my whole life trying to provide for my family. You think I want to live in an airport? And my own son hopes that I'm not around? I mean, at 16, I would think that he would at least realize that my asking about his life is not for my benefit, but for his." I stood in silence. I had nothing to say. He continued. He said, "You know, Charlie, like I said, you're lucky. When your kids are little, as soon as they hear your key in the door, they come running. You open the door to little pitter-patters and then Daddy's home. No matter what went on in your day, everything is right with the world for those few brief Daddy's home moments." On Rosh Hashanah, the new year, God comes home. He comes close and stays with us for a few days. And before we get into the sophistications of rules and judgments and prayer, the question we ask ourselves is, do we even want him home? I mean, do we like when he's around? Or is it just a time where we have to watch what we do, feel guilty that we didn't do more, or lay low until he gets back on the road? I mean, when his key hits the door on Rosh Hashanah Eve, do we get an excitement that Daddy's home? Or is it, here we go again? The rabbis, keenly aware of how quickly we forget that any rule, law, or custom is not for God's benefit. I mean, he's all good, but it's for ours. Start the prep month with a surprising but important message. I am for my beloved and my beloved is for me. Yeah, love. It's about love. It's about our relationship to God, and if we're not looking forward to him coming, well, love. Now is the time to start to rebuild the relationship. Now is the time to think about how much he gives us. Now is the time to appreciate just how amazing a real relationship is with the creator of the entire world. We're not perfect. We all know that. But we get excited to see our Father in heaven, to spend some quality time with him, to share our lives with him. Can you think of a better way to start Judgment Day?
Okay, so first, let me hear. Anybody has any comments, any thoughts about the movie? Let's start with 2 minutes. Anybody's comment about the movie? Does it sound real? Just a wishy-washy story?
Doesn't sound Jewish.
That's a good point. Does it? And number one, how does it jive with the Day of Judgment? I mean, what's the message of Rosh Hashanah? This idea of love, what does it say in the Torah? It's a very nice idea from Anil Dodi Li, which is a nice, interesting thought. But we know about Rosh Hashanah. What is Rosh Hashanah? How does everybody know what Rosh Hashanah is? The Day of Judgment, right? What else is Rosh Hashanah? It's the Yom HaZikaron, right? It's the Day of Remembrance, right? That's Yom HaZikaron and Zeh. That's what we say in Kiddush. We say everywhere else. So it's Yom HaZikaron. What does it have to do with love? Anybody? And I think I had another comment on the movie. I want to hear from you because this is how Jewish is, and I want to expand the idea. The next issue is God comes to us. Where do you see that? God comes to us? Did you ever see God coming to us in Rosh Hashanah? I know that we spend all the time in show, long davening, starting early. Where do you see God coming to us? That we should accept Him. It's a great movie that you accept, like the Father coming home. How does that happen? Where does that happen? When does that happen? Any more comments? These are my comments. There's an extension on the Jewishness of the theme. Anybody else? Yes.
I don't know. I just had a question. I mean, I've heard this concept before, that it's about love and all that great, wonderful stuff. But whenever I look at the prayers in Rosh Hashanah, I like to read the English because I don't know what I'm saying when I read the Hebrew. But it seems pretty harsh. I mean, if you look at what it really is saying, like there's a lot of stuff that's just really, really harsh stuff, and it's hard for me to stay positive when I'm reading this stuff.
Excellent question. So those questions, that's a very good point. Depends on some parts of davening, it's really harsh. And how does that jive with the message of the movie? Yes.
Well, I have something to say. I was watching the film. It made me think of myself when I was younger. And you know how sons. I think we all know fathers are always hardest on their sons. So I related to that. When I was younger, I was afraid of my father coming home because he's so tough and grouchy by the end of the day because he's working day and night. So I get like, I could feel how the father feels and the kid feels because I was in that spot. But like, it's when you get older, it changes.
Why?
That kid's because you get more mature. I think 16-year-olds, I can see a 16-year-old feeling that way about their father. My father also spends a lot of time working, not always home for Shabbos and not always home for everything. So I know how that kid feels, but it's like
but God is not busy. Hashem is not working all day long.
Right, but some kids that even 16 don't look at it the same way we do right now with Hashem and our Father. And, even like I feel still like a kid at heart, but like
I said that here. It's a very good point, and I don't want to go into much of the father's fault, which is a very good aspect to develop on. I want to develop the idea of Rosh Hashanah because I think tomorrow we don't have much time to prepare.
Right.
But I think it's important because I do agree with the message. Okay, and I think it's very, very important to understand what Rosh Hashanah is all about because I think one of the most misunderstood Jewish holidays is Rosh Hashanah. And I'll tell you the truth, Rosh Hashanah is the experience of a lifetime. If somebody knows how to use Rosh Hashanah, he can use this experience. And really, I think that you can judge a Rosh Hashanah if you feel after 48 hours of Rosh Hashanah that what a pity that we only have 48 hours a year. I think it's important to try to understand. And I'm going to give you my thoughts and then I want to open up. If anybody doesn't agree with anything else, I'd love to hear from you. This is the day of remembrance. Yes, obviously God comes to you. And I'll take a little different than this movie. I don't think God comes to us, but we connect to God. We transcend into God. You know what the difference is to remembrance? Let me ask you something. Does anybody remember what you guys ate a week ago? Today it's Tuesday night. It's Wednesday, it's Tuesday night. What was your dinner last Tuesday night? Does anybody remember?
I have horrible short-term memories.
Okay. Short-term memory. A week is not a short-term. I think a week is a long-term.
Well,
but does anybody remember? Remember what your short-term problems? Anybody remembers? The issue is you don't remember because it's not just that. It's just not that important. Memory is made of things that really make and really shape you. Go through an experience which is life altering. You have to meet somebody who went through an accident, or somebody who went through a life shaking, that your life shock that you felt to your bone. It's hard to forget. Memory is when we connect events to our consciousness. When events just separate, they become part of the consciousness. They become part of us. for an event to become part of us, it has to be really important, really drastic, and almost life-altering. Look, whatever happens to us is to God also. The fact that Hashem remembers us on this day, it shows and it brings out how connected and how relevant we are to Him. That we and Him, we are today, the day of Rosh Hashanah, is the day of remembrance. Because we become part of Him. We become part of His memory. Can you imagine us, if you ever go out and look at the stars, and you realize how insignificant we are in relationship to the universe that can be seen, our entire universe. And we realize how irrelevant we are, right? In the big scheme of things, who are we, what are we? And in this day, God, Hashem, remembers us. We are that event, which is a life-altering event, that He doesn't forget us. We become part of His consciousness. So it's not that the movie says that God comes to us. We get into God. The love, always love relates to unity. I mean, this world was created that if you love something, you connect to it. And that's true in every moment. That's a constant case. In the day of Rosh Hashanah is the great expression of love because we connect to Hashem in such a thing that we become, that He remembers us. That we, this insignificant, we become very significant. That relevance, that significance is in the day of creation of man. Hashem created us, and He told us that how important we are. And there's no greater expression of love than that. The davening is very harsh sometimes. Because sometimes we think to ourselves, Imenu Hashem, God, I connect to Hashem, I connect to God, I connect to the greatest reality of life. So a person starts thinking to himself, what does that mean? And therefore the davening appears harsh. But if you understand what the davening is all about Rosh Hashanah, in the Shmoneh Esrei, the Shmoneh Esrei, which is our connection to God when we talk to Him, there's not one harsh word. I will tell you, if you look at the Shmoneh Esrei is when we stand in front of God, there's not one harsh word. The harsh word that you say is the Tana Talking. The Tana Talking is one of the people which is said when the Chazan is going back to Shmoneh Esrei. When we talk to God in the ultimate connection, is always a feeling and an expression that we and God are one. If you look at Kedushat Hashem, the third bracha, we ask Hashem, you know something? I want you to go ahead and to glorify yourself, not to us, but through us. We ask to be part of God's revelation in this world. That if we have something that happens and God wants to show who He is, it should be done through us. That connection is the ultimate expression of love. And then we just finish, and then we'll get it. Then we just finish my thought process. You know something? You know what the highest form of prayer is on Rosh Hashanah? What is the highest prayer on Rosh Hashanah? Shmoneh Esrei is a very important part of the Shmoneh of the Tefillah. What is the highest moment of prayer during Rosh Hashanah? That's a question that I would ask somebody to answer me. What's the highest? What's the apex of prayer? What is the highest tefillah on Rosh Hashanah? Yom Kippur, which one is it? Anybody can tell me? Ne'ilah, right? What is the Ne'ilah of Rosh Hashanah? Because the shofar is the prayer that's not verbal, there are no words. Our connection with Hashem is so great from His side that His connection to us, it's an innermost mystical experience that can only be expressed with a voice that comes from our inner being. That's the shofar. The shofar is the voice that comes out mute. It's so mute, it's air that comes from the inside. Because the same way we're connected to God, that we're part of His memory, God becomes part of us in such a way that we don't need to speak. We just need to express our inner feelings. Like a person has a very close, a person is very close to his wife, you could understand what she wants or what she's feeling just by looking at her. Because if you connect it, the day of Rosh Hashanah, the highest form of prayer is the shofar. And it's not verbal. It's the only tefillah which is not verbal. You don't say a word. You just throw everything which is inside of us. You know, the feeling of Rosh Hashanah is that you can feel a mystical connection to God. A mystical connection. You know, William James writes about the universal mystical experience, which is ineffable. It's a feeling of closeness of one on Rosh Hashanah. We can't experience that. The Arizal says even more. If a Jew doesn't feel, at least in a moment, in a fleeting moment of Rosh Hashanah, that mystical connection, he has to realize that his soul has been affected and he's not really being able to perceive the reality of things. That closeness is Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is for us to ponder how close we are to God and how important we are and how relevant we are and what a difference we make and that we are never wrong. The real feeling of love is that the beginning of Rosh Hashanah is that whatever we do, whatever happens to us, God cares. That feeling of care, that feeling of mystical union is the feeling of Rosh Hashanah. And that's the shofar. When you hear the shofar, you could pour all your frustrations and all your feelings and all your pain, and you don't have to verbalize it. And this is the innermost feeling of connection. That's why Rosh Hashanah is a message of love. It's a message of love, it's a message of connection. And I think all of us, I think the way to prepare for Rosh Hashanah is not focusing. If you read the English translation, I think that one of the mistakes that we do in davening, I told davening many times, is that we read as if it was a book. We do like, sometimes we do speed reading. And we get the message, right? You see it, the davening rules are repeated, and you get the message, and sometimes you make the messages good, the message is bad. But that's not what davening is all about. Davening is a mystical experience of Rosh Hashanah. And the way to achieve that is focusing on each word of itself. Just think about the word and see what it sounds to you, how it feels to you. Rosh Hashanah has to be not translated. Rosh Hashanah has to be felt. Rosh Hashanah won't be a Rosh Hashanah if you feel about it. It's a form of meditation. Shofar is the greatest form of meditation. If we just visualize and think how connected we are, you try to feel the shofar. That experience is a closeness that is Bergmann. That's the day of Zikaron. All the idea of judgment is because it matters very on. You know, interestingly enough, the only month that is called a fatherly name is the month of Av. The month of Av, which we got punished. You know why? Because if you have a kid that's making a lot of noise, disturbing davening, if you're not the father, the parent of the child, you couldn't care less. If it's your child, you try to educate. You care. The fact that whatever we do matters is because God cares about us. The judgment says that whatever we do is so important that Hashem judges, and He does it in a way to educate us, to make us better. So I think that's the message of Rosh Hashanah. The message of Rosh Hashanah of all of us is to feel a sense of closeness, a feeling of how much we matter, a feeling of real connection. And I think the way to experience Rosh Hashanah in practical terms is, when you daven, take each and every word on its own. When you say Baruch, blessed, does Baruch mean blessed? And you know, you can bless God. How can you bless God? He doesn't need our blessings. Try to think what Baruch is all about. When you say Ata, you, you're calling God you in the direct form. Think, what does it mean on you? That you are in front of Him. You are talking to the Creator of the whole universe. Think, ponder about every word, and most important, try to experience the shofar. If you do that, you feel a sense of closeness. It can illuminate throughout the year. The David Hashem Ori, you know, the David HaMelech, the David Hashem Ori we say in the days of El. Because Ori, my light, is the day of Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is what sheds light in the entire life. Because once you get that feeling of closeness, life means something else. You'll never feel alone. You'll never feel irrelevant. You realize that whatever you do and how insignificant we are, God remembers us. We are part of His consciousness. We are part of the consciousness of the greatest being and the only true reality in the universe. Thinking about that is, I think, brings the total to light, and that's the true message of all. So it's not that God comes to our home, we enter into God's house. And that we realize that we are part of the palace, but not only part of the palace, we're the palace itself. And I think that's the message of Rosh Hashanah. By the way, any comments now? I'd love to hear what you guys have to think about it. Say, yes.
Why don't we all blow the shofar individually if we're supposed to let out that inner?
Excellent question. The mitzvah is not to blow, right? It is to listen. Because that mystical experience, you just have to listen. The beauty of Rosh Hashanah is that connection, you just have to listen. You have to listen to our own souls to realize how connected we are. You know what happens in life? In life, we are so busy. We have the BlackBerry that rings every 3 seconds to make sure that we never pay attention about our inner being. We have to listen to our inner being. The idea is to listen to the shofar, is our inner voice, which is there. Bergmann always says, faith, connection to God, you don't have to create, it's there. You just have to get a chance to listen. Now it became essential terms. You know what happened the day of Rosh Hashanah? Rosh Hashanah, Adam was created, Adam was created, and that was the day he was expelled out of Gan Eden. Right? He was expelled out of Gan Eden, and he was sent away. Says the Shlom, the day of Rosh Hashanah, we get a glimpse of the experience of how it feels to be in Gan Eden before Adam was expelled. The blowing of the shofar reminds us of the blowing of God of our souls into us. So that expression, that inner soul, is that connection which is there. We just have to listen. And the day of Rosh Hashanah, we have to listen to the shofar and listen to our souls. Think, let it feel. You have to open our hearts. The idea is we have to listen to it, not to speak. And that's that's something. Every religion will tell you that the mystical experience is ineffable. It's something that you can't speak. You just get to it. It's that fleeting moment that comes to you. That fleeting moment that comes to you. Listen. The message is we have to listen to our souls and be Rosh Hashanah, not to speak.
The sound of the shofar is like, what feeling, is it supposed to evoke in us? And specifically, there's, 3 different sounds, so is it possible to help us understand what each of the
We're going to go, that's an excellent question, and we'll go into it in a few seconds. After we go, we'll say why different sounds, and what the different feelings are. We'll go, and I think it's an important idea, and we'll go into that message in a second.
But at the end of the day, it's still a scary day. Your whole life, your whole next year is dependent on this day. So at the same time that you feel the love, but you're also scared for your life. I'm saying at the end of the day, you're also scared for everything. So how do you?
Once you realize how much important we are to God, and how connected we are to Him, we realize that He is the person. He's not the person. He's the being. You don't have to be afraid. If we're that connected, that important to Him, whatever happens to us, it's for our good. You realize that if you have a father, always feel this way. If you have a father, and your father says, "Listen, I love you," and you feel the love in your father, and your father was able to do anything, you'll never fear anything, right? If I had a father, I know how my father loved me. Father passed away, I always remember how he loved me. So I never felt afraid. When I grew up, I felt a little more afraid because I knew that my father couldn't control me as much as he would have helped, as much as he wished to help me. Not always he could help me. But if my father had all the power in the world, once I know how much he loved me, I'll never be afraid. And Rosh Hashanah, once you realize how much he loves us, that connection, then you don't have to be afraid. And that's what the Torah says. The Torah says, on the day of Rosh Hashanah, we have to be tochel. And that's why we treat it as a yom tov. A day of judgment is treated not as a day of mourning. The girl says not even allowed to cry or to be afraid. You have to realize that how much he loves you. That feeling of love is that whatever happens, be in one another's side for the good. So you don't ever have to be afraid. Once you have that's why the day of Rosh Hashanah is a day of judgment. to put the judgment in perspective. It's not that you're judging somebody else.
You're not allowed
God
to cry
is
on Rosh
judging.
Hashanah. You're not allowed to cry on
So
Rosh
the
Hashanah.
cross says you're not allowed to cry on Rosh Hashanah, because Rosh Hashanah will just show that you don't really miss the message. The whole idea of the judgment is how important we are and how connected we are to God, and that's feeling of love. Once you have the feeling of love, you can't be afraid of judgment. You're being judged for our own good by the one who loves us most. That's the feeling. So the Goin says, oh, no, right. And then you can't control emotions, but you have to balance it.
So should we first have the first Aseret Made Tshuva, and that should build up our like our connection, and the ultimate connection would be on Yom HaZikaron, on Rosh Hashanah. Why is it different?
So actually, the Yom HaZikaron is the connection. Once we feel so connected we are, we realize how important we are, we have to fix our actions. But that connection is irrelevant of our actions. The beauty is, guys, you don't realize that on the Rosh Hashanah, before Tshuva of Yom Kippur, we are connected to God no matter what. So it just shows that that connection is love connection, and any connection which is dependent upon love is not dependent on anything. It's completely altruistic. That connection is a connection that exists. That's an unbreakable connection. Once we are connected, we realize how important we are, we try to make ourselves better. But the idea is that making ourselves better is not to create a connection, just the opposite. The connection to God allows us, it forces us to become better.
I have
Yes.
I would be saying that like there is a point that it says that in Rosh Hashanah, Hashem writes in the books, and in Yom Kippur, it's sealed. So there is some kind of a judgment over here.
Oh, for sure.
Can I
What
ask-
is writing in the book? What does God have to write in the book? First of all, do you ever think
Okay, so it
about
probably has to do with his Yom HaZikaron. He's remembering.
it? Why remember? What is he remembers? Why does he have to write in the book? And why a book? It looks like the God has a big book, and he writes in the book. And we say in davening, "Kotvena b'sefer ha'chaim." You know what the Sefer Yetzirah says? The world was created in 2 books and a story. That's how the world was created.
It also put it in our perspective in a way that we understand,
Right, but
It has to be.
Sefer Yetzirah says, you're right, Sefer Yetzirah says not like that. So you didn't you say okay, book doesn't mean a book. Sefer Yetzirah says the world was created in 2 books, the Sefer, the Sequel, with the 2 books and a story. And says the Gro, the 2 books in the story and the 3 books that are open in the Rosh Hashanah. You know what the idea of a book? A book is that there's a story. And you connect events. A book connects events into a story, into a narrative. Do you see what the book does? A book takes many events that appear to be separate. By putting it into a book, you're creating a story. It's a narrative. Everything fits in. Our lives are written in a book to tell us that we are relevant, that the world that was created, we are part of that narrative. We're not just people floating that if we're here, if we're not there, it makes no difference. We are written in the book because the book is the narrative of the world, the narrative of the universe, the creation of the universe, and we are an integral part of it. And the only question is, how are we going to become part of it? As tzaddikim or as Rishonim? But the Sefer relates that our lives are not just independent agents floating out there, but we are the story of this universe. The story of the universe will be different if we're not here. That's the relevance of us. So that's why it's books. We realize that our lives are the story of this universe. As much as we think that we are irrelevant, Chazal are telling us that our existence and what we do not only affects us, affects the whole story of the universe. The story of this creation make a difference of who we are, how we are, and what happens to us. I think that's important idea of the Sefer.
I just want to say there's a common misconception. A lot of people think this the other way, but Rosh Hashanah is the day of judgment, and Yom Kippur is the day of forgiveness. People tend to get that confused a little bit.
Right, but the concept of judgment is the concept of connection, the concept of relevance, and the idea of Yom Kippur is that whatever we do, since we're so important, we're given the chance to rectify what we did. To be in the book as a tzaddik, not as a Rosh. Yes.
I also heard something that, the whole Rosh Hashanah we spent talking about how Hashem is the Melech, the King. So, we shouldn't cry on Rosh Hashanah, we shouldn't be sad because we're here with the King, we praise the King. So whatever he decrees on that is because he's the King. There's nothing to really argue about it.
What does it mean that he's the king? That's a good point. What does it mean that he's
He's
the
our
king?
King.
And therefore you have to be happy,
Besides,
and we have to praise him. What does God mean so many of our praises? It doesn't look a little narcissistic that we have to praise God, continuously praise him again and again.
because we have to find what to thank him for.
Huh?
There's always going to be something to thank him for.
Yeah, thank you, but praising is not the same as thanking. Meaning, so if you have, let's say you have the normal, regular
Because
king,
if you elevate him, you can get to higher levels, which
because by elevating God, we're revealing God in this world. Because we're so connected that God's presence in the world is created by us. You're 100% right. The praising is that we bring love back. We make God appear. God's presence in the world is a function of how we bring that about. The connection, the unity of Rosh Hashanah is such that we are so unified that we can feel God and we are part of Him, that God's existence in this world is also brought about by us. We are the ones, by praising, we are bringing His revelation, His appearance into this world. That is the ultimate connection with God. So again, that's the same idea. So Malchus, the kingdom. The idea of kingdom is that the kingdom depends on the subjects. You can't have a king without subjects, and the subjects are connected to a king. That unity is the same dimension, the same as Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is all unity. You realize that Rosh Hashanah is a day of unity, that humans are able to experience how relevant they are, that their existence is part of the story of the universe, and that our souls are directly connected to God. It's experiential. It's not an idea, it's not a story, it's experiential. It's there to be tasted. Tamu uru kitav Hashem. Taste and see and feel how God is great. It's a concept of feeling, of opening our hearts, of listening to our souls. If we listen to our souls, we realize how connected we are.
I have a question. If we hear all about that we're really connected to God and God's connected to us, so why do we call it the day of, Yom HaZikaron, right? That means that God remembered us, right?
Remembers, not remember, remembers.
Remembers us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying, and like when you're in a close connection with someone, you don't have to remember the person because you're constantly with them. You're in a unity together. There's no remembering because there's always a constant.
Excellent question. You know what the difference is? If you remember somebody, that somebody is in you. If you're constantly with somebody, you are here and he's there and you're interacting with them. Memory makes an event part of you. I told you, if you go through a mega event in your life, it becomes part of you. Memory is different than history. You know what history is? History is that you have a subject and you are here and you're judging the subject. You're interacting with the subject. Memory is that the event is in my head. The event which is there is part of me. Rosh Hashanah is not that we are close to God, we are part of Him. That's the ultimate unity. Memory is the ultimate unity. That the history becomes my history. You ever try to remember something? How I remember something is not how anybody else. My memory is different than anybody else's memory. Because memory becomes part of me. The event, it's part of my own psyche, it's my own consciousness. Yom HaZikaron is the highest form because we are part of God's consciousness. We are part of Him. We're not connected to Him, we are Him, and He is us. He is part of our soul, and our soul is part of Him.
What you're saying is by remembering, it's living it?
It's living, we're living in God, we are in Him. Just try to remember, when you remember something amazing, an experience, that experience is part of you. Try to remember an experience, and you realize that when you remember an experience, by the way, did anybody ever, there are so many books about memory. If you remember about something, you relive the event as part of you. Sometimes memory makes you relive the event more than when the event actually happened. Because when the event actually happened, it was an event, it was you, and the event was interacting with you. When you remember the event is not interacting with you, the event is you. You ever realize something? That memories are always more color than the event itself. People always remember, like this concept of selective memory. Selective memory is that when you have the event itself, sometimes you remember that Europe. Look at Europe, how people remember. People talk about Europe in this romantic view, like Europe was in Europe before the war. If you ever talk to somebody who came from the war, from the old country, they tell you this idea of Europe with this romantic view, the people are tzaddikim in the world, and you read in books and you say, my gosh, this is what Europe was. Europe was horrible. But the memory is because that Europe became part of your consciousness. On the day of Rosh Hashanah, we are part of God's consciousness. You realize how close it is. And that's such a feeling of celebration. We are God's memory. So there's no closer form of interaction. There's never a closer form of interaction with this.
That's as long as we're doing that, we're not dead now.
It's exactly right. So that's why. That's why
That is a lot worse than the story itself also.
it's exactly right. It's exactly right because it affects much more. It's exactly right because it affects much more, and that's why our zikoron is always important. If you're reading the tefillah, it's always the zikoron because we want to have that impression of God. And the idea is the same way we are remembered by God, we can feel God in us because God is in us. If you listen to the shofar, if you listen to your soul, you feel that. Just open up.
The most of the davening of Rosh Hashanah, we mentioned Malchuyas, Shofars, and Zichonos, right? Why these three, and how do they interact?
That's a great question. You should know that those are the three sides of unity. Zikoron is God unity. We are part of Him. Malchus is part of us. What is Malchus? Well, Malchus is that we want God to interact with us. That Melech means that God needs us. That there is no, we are the ones who can proclaim Melech. The Malchus is dependent on us. So if you look at the closeness, our closeness in Him is Zikoron. He remembers us. The flip side of Zikoron is that we bring Him to our lives as a Melech. So we enter into His life as Zikoron, and He enters our lives as a Melech. And how is that done? Through the shofar. The shofar is that inner voice, that connection, that mystical, subconscious connection and link, which is the shofar that you express you in the most outside, which remembers the day that God blew life onto us. That's why the shofar is the Shimachas. So that two sides, Zikoron is how we connect to God, Malchus is how God connects to us. And that is done through the shofar, which is that mystical connection, the channel, which is the unspoken channel. No, that's Malchus. And that's it. If you read the Ramchal, which as you know, Ramchal was a great thinker in the 18th century. He's one of the great Kabbalists. And his Kavanas Atfilah is all this. All his Kavanas Atfilah, if you realize, if anybody wants to see on the web, it's posted the Kabbalistic teachings of the Davening of Rosh Hashanah. Come to my website, it's called www.aribergmann.com. And you can see the Tefillah of Rosh Hashanah. It's there, the Kabbalistic writings of the Ramchal. It's on the PDF, and there is a recording of 1 hour and 5 minutes with an English explanation of the Kabbalistic thought of the Ramchal. It's all based on this idea. All the Davening of Rosh Hashanah is that we connect to Him in the Chronos because we become part of His memory. He becomes part of our life through Malchus, and the vehicle through that is that innate voice of the Shabbat. And that's it. And that's all. Yes.
Back when you're saying you're not supposed to cry at Rosh Hashanah, this doesn't really make sense to me much because like I hear a lot of rabbis when they're davening during Rosh Hashanah, they're like, even the chazan, they're like always crying when they're saying.
That's great. So, excellent question. By the way, who asks the question? This asking is asked because the Ari writes the person should cry, and the Gross the person shouldn't cry. And the answer is very simple. If you cry out of fear, if you cry out of depression, it's prohibited to do Rosh Hashanah. It doesn't fit Rosh Hashanah. If you cry out of love, out of belonging, out of distance, there is a cry. Sometimes you could cry of happiness. Cry is a very deep emotion of the soul. So the crying of the deep emotion is not only allowed, that's a natural tendency, but if you cry out of fear, out of depression, out of desperation,
they both agree that that's prohibited.
And that says in the what I'm saying the Bergmann says, he says this idea. He says, so people say cry, it depends on how it's crying. If you're crying because of desperation, because of sadness, because of fear, that's not there's a fear.
And everyone agrees with that.
That you should look at behavior on this is brought down in Halacha. So this brought down Halacha of what the crying is all about. If it's a crying of that connection, of that feeling, of the exalted feeling, that is fit to Rosh Hashanah. Crying of feelings.
Where does regret fall in Rosh Hashanah?
Regret is now the regret is that feeling that if you're so important, if you're so connected, you always feel that you could have done so much more. So the regret in Rosh Hashanah is not with specific actions, there's no meaning. The regret is the yearning to be better. And that's what leads you to keep.
So it's not like a regret from the fear from the dead, it's more of a
a regret to the future. That gives you, you know what the Baal Tanya says, it's not sadness, it's not depression. It's the feeling that if it's so good, I want to use the life. There's so much power. I want to make a change. I want to be better.
So you're not supposed to look at that?
You're not supposed to. You're supposed to know and to give respect to life. So they all, the Duke of Oaks, the true Rosh Hashanah is not looking at this. That's your key. The avoid of Rosh Hashanah is the respect of what life is all about and what you were doing for life. So if you like it, you feel that idea that you could be so much more. That's the idea. That's the idea of Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is the sadhu how you become.
Could you just help us understand a little bit about the concept of a king, because it's such a foreign concept to everybody in our
The
day,
concept
and
of a
it
king-
also a king sounds very distant. I mean, you're saying you bring God into your life as a king, but it seems like it's different than a father. A king is something much above you.
The word king in Hebrew. See, if you want ever to know a concept in Hebrew, you will learn from the language itself. What's the word king in Hebrew? Is the word melech. Toysa says in the Dalet and the base in the Mitzvah that the word melech, which is mem, lamed, and chaf, right? If you read backwards, it's the word kalim, which means destroy them. The idea
Means what?
of destroy them, kalim. And the idea is that the concept of melech is that God is your existence. That we are a contingent existence. That He is a melech, and we, without Him, have no existence. We are kalem. We say in Rosh Hashanah, "V'tahir libeinu l'avdei," let me worship you with truth. Right? The day of Rosh Hashanah is the day of worship of truth. What is truth? The Rambam says in Perek Aleph of Yesod HaTorah that God is the only truth. He's the only absolute reality. We are a contingent reality. Melech means that we see ourselves not as an independent existence, but our existence and His existence are one. That is what Melech is all about. That when we look at our lives, we are never alone. That if not for the Melech, we don't exist, which is the concept of Kalem. So Melech means the concept that we have no separate existence without Him. What's the ultimate example of Melech? Who was the greatest king of the Jewish people?
Solomon.
No, David HaMelech. Right, he's the beginning of Malchus. David HaMelech becomes the Malchus forever. Kingdom always belonged to him. And Chazal always say that when we say Kiddush Levana, David Melech is all Chavekam. David represents, Malchus represents the moon. Why? Because the moon has no light of its own. It only shines the sun's light. Its whole being is the sun's light. That's Malchus. Melech is that you realize that who we are just a vehicle to shining God's light. Is the idea that whatever happens to us, there's no independent existence. So Melech is not that He's there, we are here like subjects of our king. The word Melech means Kalem, that we have no existence without Him. That He is the real existence and we are contingent.
Who were the Lord and Hashem is the Son, so to speak?
That's exactly right, that we reflect Him, exactly right. Guys, the idea is that I would suggest to everybody to look at the words of Rosh Hashanah, word by word, and try to experience how great really we are and how close we can get to God. And what the idea, the goal of Rosh Hashanah should be, let's experience how it was for Adam to be in Gan Eden before being expelled. Anybody has to set the goal. You know, every life you always have to set a goal. I always love setting goals. What's the goal of Rosh Hashanah? Some people is to make it, not to gain too many calories. I think the goal of us should be to try to experience how it was to other nations before it's expelled. If we reach to that, we've gotten a little bit of the taste of Rosh Hashanah. And that's the ultimate goal. That's the goal. To get there, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of time. And not all of us, but every year we have to get closer to that feeling. If we get closer to that feeling, we'll accomplish what Rosh Hashanah is all about. Rosh Hashanah is allowing us to feel how Adam was right before he was thrown out in the Eden. So when you say here that in this idea of the movie, that God comes to our home, we go to God's house. This is the day that we can experience Gan Eden. And all of us, I hope, my wish to everybody is a happy and sweet new year. That indeed we should experience how it was to Adam Rishon before it was thrown out in the Eden. Okay? Maximum everybody.
Yeah.
So the different keys, I just say the different keys where they are, is because that relationship, that innate relationship, there are different stages to it. There is one which is, sometimes you feel that relationship is straight, and you feel that connection. Sometimes the connection is crying because it's broken. Sometimes it's broken in small pieces, sometimes more broken in many pieces. That relationship with God has ups and downs. The ups and downs of that connection is the different voice of the shofar. There's always a voice, but sometimes it's not straight, it's not smooth. And that's the crying of the shofar. We are trying to achieve the great key. What is lost in love? What's the ultimate feeling of when Mashiach comes? Will be a great key. That feeling will be smooth and will be continuous forever. But in this world, we go to many temples. So realize that in life, this experience, that closeness, sometimes is very smooth, sometimes it's broken, and sometimes it's very broken. That's why we cry. But the relationship goes there. And the nice part of the shofar is, you know what the end is? At the end of every blowing of shofar, you know what the last blow is? It's a tequila. Realize that that's what we do. Just realize that the shofar is, that our connection to God is not smooth. Very tough, sometimes you don't hear, and that's the crying. But we are promised that one day we will have the ultimate blow. And that's what we have to pray. That we should experience a great key of the Lord that should carry us from Mashiach and from life and from years that we never know. Guys, I want to see what's in the table. You can mention your family.